Hello there and welcome. It's Psychic Cynthia here, and this one is for all you herbalists, herb crafters, and lovers of the fruits of our Mother Earth. This morning I am doing a bit of herb harvesting and crafting with Bee Balm, Monarda, and Bee Balm. Of course, just like the name, the bees like the Bee Balm, and I've actually heard the monarchs like them too. I don't know for sure if that's correct, but I've heard that. So some gardeners grow it for that, but herbalists, this has been used. I've heard and I've known people who've used it for. Well, it tastes good. First of all, it tastes good, and it's also called wild bergamot. It's not the same as the fruit bergamot, but it's called wild bergamot because it has a little bit of that citrus taste. Actually, I think it's a very peppery taste, but then I guess some citrus has that peppery taste too. Peppery and sweet, and it just makes a lovely tea. Even if you're not growing it for the bees or you're not using it for medicinal purposes, it makes a very lovely tasting tea. And medicinally, some people do like to use it for a variety of things, but one of the strong uses historically in the United States has been for easing anxiety. So that's not exactly why I grow it, but I mean, I do think it's, like many herbal teas, it can be relaxing to drink a cup of herbal tea. But yes, it is relaxing. In terms of medicinal, I look at the flower, and through the law of signatures, I mean, look at that purple. It does come in other colors too, by the way, but this is a very standard color, that purple or the red. This is kind of a magenta almost. To me, that reminds me of inflammation. So if you're feeling inflamed in your mind, your heart, or your body, or your soul, well, that's when I would utilize the plant ally of Bee Balm. Okay? And I did actually, this is just purely anecdotal. I've never even read about anybody else using this, but I'm sure there have to be somebody using it in this way. I kind of stumbled into some years ago when I had a painful tooth extraction that Bee Balm helped me to relieve my pain in the gums. Both the tea and the tincture, the herbal, alcohol-soaked tincture. So, I don't know, that's just anecdotal. You might find it works for you, you might not. But that is my experience, and also seems to help me when, it's that special time of the month and we might have menstrual cramps or just even feeling cranky. So anyway, it's a great plant to work with as an ally. But one little tip I wanted to give you today, because you can never have enough Bee Balm, and I find it's hard to buy Bee Balm. Actually, I've tried. I can't really find a good source, so I have to grow it. And it has kind of thick stems. Actually, this is not the thickest part. You can kind of see comparing to my pinky, but these are a little tough. And so what I want to show you now, it grows on these long stalks, like literally it gets tall. So a lot of the stalk gets very thick, about 3 times thicker than this, and I'm sorry I don't have any of those big parts because I've already been processing this some. So I don't use those big parts in my herbalism, and most people wouldn't use these, even these medium, I'm going to call them medium stems, because if you have I don't know if I have any here, if you have a really thin, okay, here's a really thin stem, you see how easy that gives. Now that can just be dried and put into my sachet for my herbal tea later. So I still got to kind of pull it pretty hard, but generally when you're saving herbs for herbal tea, you don't want too many stems, right? It just doesn't work as well. But I mean, you can have the stems, but it's a different energy than the leaves. So anyway, what I do, instead of just composting these or throwing them out if you don't have compost, I'll take the leaves off. And by the way, the leaves make excellent tea too. Don't think it just has to be the flowers, because I work with it all, and it works. It works. Uh, so I'm going to take these mid-grade flexible stems. So they're not, these are almost borderline. I almost could put them in with the leaves, but I don't think I will. I'm going to just chop them up into, I don't know, ½ inch, an inch, whatever it is length you want to do. But you want them kind of smaller. It helps to make them easier to work with. And you can see that I've got some here already. Okay, yeah. Can you see that? I'm trying to see if you can see that. Go here. Okay, so that one's a little long, but you can kind of see in relationship to my pinky that, so that's like the first knuckle. Now, my hands are pretty small, so your first knuckle might be bigger than mine, and if it is, go a little smaller. So anyway, I'm just chopping it up into smaller pieces and removing the leaves and the flowers. By the way, just as a side note, when you pick your herbs, make sure you say thank you to the plant, make sure you honor it. If you want, you can give it a little gift. I mean, I give my plants gifts all the time through the gift of water and organic fertilizers and just love. But yeah, they like to be gifted, and you might even give them a gift of, you know, special libations, like a second brew black tea. They really like that. Cool down, of course, for example. Or even peppermint tea. I sometimes give that to my other plants as a gift. They really like that and thrive on that. So, going back to these little stalks, these middle grade flexible stalks, not the real thick part of your bee balm, but the mid grade. In other words, there's still a little, you almost can feel some juice. And how can you tell? Well, I'll tell you in a second here, but the thing about it is these stalks, even though they're not great for like drying with your flowers and your leaves, because they'll get all kind of pokey and annoying, but you can do some things with them. And I'm going to be working with them fresh probably. I'm thinking just working with these today. I don't know if I might have extra. You can dry them if you want to. And what you would do is you dry them and then store them. I would store them in a glass jar, because otherwise they might get kind of funky. You probably could do a little paper sack. And by the way, I'm going to just use this little paper sack. There's not sugar in here anymore. It's a reused bag that I dumped the sugar out of. So, but it's nice for drying in. So yeah, you want to store them either in a paper sack, or I would think glass jar might be best. That's how I've done it in the past, at least. And you could just do that, and then if you're drying them, now I'm going to use them fresh, and they are more fragrant, more juicy, more, you know, they carry more life force. The stems are different than the leaves. In many plants, the flavor actually intensifies with the drying. Did you know that? Like fresh mint, fresh lemon balm, it's a beautiful summer tea, either of those. But if you take dried mint or dried lemon balm, the flavor actually intensifies, the energy is intensified. I mean, I guess it's just a matter of preference. Do you want it more fragrant and more intense? But with the stems, you're going to get a better flavor while it still has, you know, some of that hydration, you know, from, you know, before it's completely dry, in my experience. But it might vary from plant to plant. I haven't done this with every plant. And the other thing is, this is for your aromatic plants primarily. So like mint, maybe lemon balm, tarragon, bee balm, okay, just to give you some ideas. It's going to work best with the aromatics because they're going to have more spice, more flavor. Anyway, chop them up and dry them or not. But what I'm going to do with these, and I've got some more to do in here. I won't bore you sitting here watching me chop more, but I'm going to make tea out of just the stems. And I will want to take the water to a little higher level than I normally do. Now, normally, when I bring a tea with bee balm, I mean, you can pour boiling water over it. I did that back in the beginning, you know, years ago when I was, you know, a newbie. I learned real fast, though, that herbs like bee balm and lemon balm and to some extent mint, although mint is tough. As one of my friends says, mint don't mind. Mint can work in a variety of circumstances, but yeah, they work better with the water a little less than boiling. And I'm not going to tell you precise temperature because I don't measure it. I let it cool down, slightly cooled. It's not cool though. So you'll find that I'm pretty sure not only does it maintain more of the, physical healing properties, like the measurable aspects, just the flavor. The flavor is better, usually with water that has been, slightly cooled. Is not quite boiling, but with the stems, you might do a little hotter water. It's up to you. You can experiment, and of course, the hotter the water, the more of the flavor and the physical essence of the plant is extracted. I mean, truthfully, you could try just soaking these in cold water in the fridge and see what happens. But anyway, I'll make a tea out of these, and I will use 1 cup of water to, I don't know, it depends on how strong I want it. Probably 1 cup of water to 1 tablespoon, which is why I'm chopping these down. I might need to go smaller. That's why you want to chop them if you're going to do tea, so you can measure. And for those of you who are metric, I don't know what, I don't know the conversion rate for 1 dried tablespoon, but here I'll show you in my hand, like, this is approximate, and get good at eyeballing things. You can measure, and I do measure and I weigh sometimes, but you also need to be able to eyeball. So that's about a tablespoon. That's a heaping tablespoon. Or you could do a teaspoon. A little side note on the teaspoons, like a lot of times they'll say use a teaspoon of herbal tea per cup. I've heard that goes back to the days of the apothecaries in the United States, and they would give out samples, and they would be in 1 teaspoon. That was a little sample, right? That wasn't really what they were mixing the teas with. They were using more like 1 tablespoon or more. So it depends on the tea, or whatever it is you're making the concoction, but 1 teaspoon is a starting point, okay? If you want more flavor, and assuming it's a gentle herb, which I've worked primarily with the gentle herbs. I have worked with some of the stronger herbs. I do like hope. Now that's in a different, stratosphere. And you don't make tea out of that, to my knowledge, and I don't recommend that. Actually, I don't recommend working with hope until you get a lot of knowledge. So getting back to the gentle herbs, yeah, you might want more flavor. So anyway, make tea out of your stalks. You don't have to throw them away. The other thing you can do, and I have done this with mint, and it's kind of fun. Probably still have some around somewhere. You can take these little sticks, probably make them a little smaller, and you can chew on them. These don't have as much as mint, though, as much flavor, but man, if you do that with a mint stalk, there's a little. If you do that with a mint stalk, you really will get a lot of nice peppermint flavor. You'd be surprised, and that is dried. Alrighty, well, just some tips for working with Bee Balm, and it does make a lovely tincture. If you want to, if you're doing your alcohol base, you could probably try glycerin. I haven't done that with this one. But I don't know. I like to make tea. That's what I like to do with it. And it blends well with other herbs for tea, such as peppermint, raspberry leaf, bee balm. If you want a little spicy, herbal spicy, try it with rosemary. Maybe ginger. I mean, ginger goes well with so many things. Ginger root and bee balm is a lovely tea. You can use it to make nettle tea taste better. If you love nettle tea, more power to you. I love what nettle tea can do. The taste for me has to be uplifted. So anyway, those are some tips for you, and I hope you're enjoying your summertime if you are watching in the summer, like I am here in the summer. And if you're not watching in the summer, I hope you're preparing for the season of harvest. So happy harvesting, happy enjoying the fruits of nature and the healing through our mother, the earth. Thank you very much for watching. Bright blessings.